Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our March, joint meeting of the Authority and Canals Corporation. Happy to have the honor to again share our conversation for the next couple hours. With me, as always, fellow trustees Gonzalez, Morris, Wheelock, Trainor, and Cusick. Trustee Warren is attending remotely this morning. Justin, Karina, Karen, Laura, are with us as well, and others will join progressively over the course of the discussion. As always, this meeting has been duly noticed as required by open meetings law, and I'm pleased to formally call it to order. We've all had an opportunity to review the agenda as presented, and it asks for a motion to adopt the agenda as you've reviewed it. Thank you, Dennis. Second, Laurie. Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. We just asked to ensure, if you haven't already, if there's any late breaking changes relative to any conflicts you might have on the actions that we'll be taking over the course, that you give Karen due notice. We have a full agenda today. Our Vision 2030 strategic plan refresh and update, as we've been actively engaged over the last couple months, is a key focus, and looking forward to that presentation. Also have a full squad turnout from the Canals team today. We'll be talking to us as well. As that sandwiched in between that is Alexis, and a good important risk presentation and discussion. But as we typically do, want to start with relatively brief exec session. So if I could, I'd ask for a motion to convene an exec session pursuant to section 105 of the Public Officers Law. Laurie, so move. Second, Dennis. Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Terrific. We will convene 45 minutes for exec session and be back with you then. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. If I could ask for a motion to resume the meeting in open session. Laurie, so move. B, second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Back in business. And as always, no votes were taken during the executive session. So we got full agenda. Some real good discussion, particular focus on the strategy refresh and Vision 2030. We've all had running discussions over the last couple months on that, and excited to see that finally come to fruition today. Daniella and Justin will give us a drive-by there. Alexis, a lot of moving parts and pieces that create inherent risk for us as an organization. So debrief us there. And then Brian, Rebecca, and Dave, a lot happening and going to happen in Canals. So good catch up there. So that'll consume us for the next hour and a half or so. But as always, to kick us off, Justin, state of NYPA, and tee up our strategy discussion.
All right, thank you. Morning, everyone. Morning, trustees, NYPA colleagues, members of the public. Great to be with you here today. As many of you know, this is always an important meeting for the Power Authority. This is what we call our annual meeting, where we have a lot of approvals that come before you, mostly governmental filings and so forth, but and policies and procedures that we bring to you. So it's always an important meeting of the board and for management. But today
it's implication about all the other important meetings we have.
That's right. This one,
okay. It's actually maybe extra important.
Extra, okay, extra important. But today we add the even more important, or equally important, strategic refresh that, as you know, we've been working on for the last year and a half, and so we'll be talking to you about that refresh proposal, and hopefully seeking your approval at the end of the presentation to adopt.
It's not a strategy. Oh, sorry.
To adopt our Vision 2030 renewed strategy. But before I get started, I just wanted to introduce Chris Hudson. Chris is our new SVP of Development. Comes to us from Patrick Engineering in Chicago. And prior to that was the president and CEO of Aurora Gen, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Chris will be heading up both our transmission and renewables work, working with Adam Barsky and the finance group. So I wanted to recognize and welcome Chris.
Good morning, everyone. Just a little background about me. I'm from the Navy nuclear program. Spent several years as a nuclear quality assurance officer on both aircraft carriers and submarines. Worked for General Electric for 10 years under their junior officer leadership program before getting into the third-party EPC projects that have done quite a wide breadth from everything from power generation, transmission, distribution, renewables, and biofuels.
Sounds remotely qualified.
Thank you, Chris. And
You got to get him out of Florida. What the hell are you doing down there? You know?
Thank you, and again, welcome. So as I said, not only is it an important meeting for us here at the Power Authority, but it's an important period of time and kind of an inflection point in our industry. And obviously, there's a lot of rapid change going on. There's a lot of uncertainty. But as you'll see today, we are well positioned to adapt to these uncertainties and to take advantage of potentially new opportunities for the Power Authority to play an even greater role in the future. So what's been happening? Well, we have, if you haven't heard, we have a new administration in Washington, D.C. And so that's created a little bit of uncertainty.
I got a text on Signal about that yesterday.
You did? So it's created a little uncertainty in our business. Obviously, offshore wind is an important part of how we look to decarbonize downstate New York. So there's some questions around the level of commitment toward offshore wind in the future. We have talk about tariffs that we've been following very closely. We've got a team, as you'll hear later, from Alexis. We have a team closely monitoring federal developments around executive orders and tariffs, and so far no impact on NYPA. There's also talk about what potential subsidies in the Inflation Reduction Act might be modified or kept. One thing we did see just recently, which is of interest, was just within the last couple of days, Department of Energy released some money in furtherance of a prior commitment by the prior administration for advanced nuclear technology. So that's certainly a signal that there's going to be support there, but there's a lot going on. But these are very interesting, very challenging, and potentially opportunistic times for us that we want to make sure that we can take advantage of and continue to play the important role that we play. And of course, all that thinking and all those issues have been inputs into the strategy that we're going to be talking to you about later this morning. But again, we've created a solid foundation in terms of where we sit today. You heard earlier from Adam in terms of the financial aspects of our business. This lays a great foundation for the work and the challenges ahead of us. We've created creative financial structures to be able to do more, be able to push our balance sheet further, to be able to lean in more for some of these opportunities. So again, we think we're positioned to meet the moment, and we're excited about where we are today and where we're headed in the future. So before we go any further, let me just mention take you through sort of how we got here and where we are. So since the Vision 2030 plan was adopted in December of 2020, as I alluded to, the energy landscape has evolved across all fronts, and it's become clear that we're leaders in the state, and we've got to adjust our course to reflect recent learnings and to seize the opportunities that have emerged. And you'll hear about the reference to adjusting the sails to try to meet the moment and make sure that we're able to adapt to changing circumstances, but also that we're creating something that, as I've said to you before, that's sort of a living document where, with how much change is taking place and how fast it's happening, we're going to be continuing to iterate this strategy. So we're not baking something here in 2025 that we're going to be, locked into for the next 5 years, but this reflects where we are today and our best estimate of how we can lean in and be most effective. So the original Vision 2030 was built on expectations of stable costs, permitting reforms happening, grid expansion, and the reimagination of our canal system. In this renewed plan, we have some areas that require realignment or reshaping the strategic trajectory, while in other areas we're entering into an exciting acceleration phase. So what you'll see in the detail coming up is not just a continuation of the existing Vision 2030, but really its evolution and our commitment to New York's clean energy future. And I saw recently somebody said that the decarbonization effort in the economy and the clean energy transition is such a big effort that nothing as big as that has ever gone up just in a straight line. All big change has been, in terms of inventions and so forth, has been sort of a jagged line. And so we don't expect to see a clear trajectory, a straight upward, but we're going to be monitoring those bumps along the way and make sure that we're participating in this effort. So we're leaders of change here, not just adapting to it. And this moment showcases our passion toward reliability, resiliency, economic development, the revitalization of communities we serve, and responsible use and protection of the natural environment that we live and work in. So how did we get to today? Teams across NYPA and Canals, as I've said, took a year or more's worth of work for our future to prepare Vision 2030 renewed. Leading change involves taking advantage of our core strengths and emphasizing the contributions and abilities of the intelligent, innovative, passionate, and dedicated employees across NYPA and Canals. So we took to a thoughtful examination of our strategic priorities and foundational pillars that you're familiar with. And this involved taking stock of our progress to date and identifying new challenges and embracing the ever-growing potential that lies ahead. But most importantly, we wanted to sharpen our focus and accelerate execution. We're an execution organization. That's what we're good at. We know that we're going to have to accelerate those efforts to meet the demands that we're facing, and that's what this is all about. We also needed to ensure that we use data-driven and stakeholder feedback in planning this recalibration. And as you've heard from Rob Piasek and his team, our work in the data area and with AI, this is only going to just enable us to really lean in even further. So, and we'll talk a little bit about how that fits into the strategy. So we landed on our updated plan, which strengthens our commitment to advancing our clean energy future, harnesses NYPA's unique strengths and expanded authority, and drives performance and resilience through deeper innovation. But before going any further into the strategy, let me just take a moment to, as I always do a little update on the renewables effort, which has been a key change for us since we launched Vision 2030. This update will give you a few concrete examples of how we're already executing on our strategic plan. So we've got ongoing growth in our pipeline. As you know, in our strategic plan, we had roughly 30 projects that we launched with, around 3 gigawatts of projects in due diligence. And as I alluded to previously, we already had a tranche of projects behind that weren't really ready for inclusion in the strategic plan, but nevertheless were being worked on, and that'll be the next tranche of our projects. So roughly 6 gigawatts of projects in some form of review or negotiation currently. We also have, excitingly, a first milestone that I wanted to announce, and that's the closing of our first 100% owned utility scale project, Somers Solar Project in Fort Edward in Washington County, 20 megawatt utility scale project. And so we're excited.
We're off and running.
We're off and running. So
first one.
And obviously, as I've said a number of times, we're just getting started, but this demonstrates that a lot of project work was being done as we were formulating the strategic plan. And there's plenty behind that. It'll be in commercial operation by mid 2027. So what does this do? This for us, it boosts industry confidence, right? That we can actually do this work and that we're well positioned to be able to execute on the mandate that we were given. We've been talking about how we did a lot of internal, structuring, whether it's financial structuring or putting together a great team to do the work. But now we're actually showing that we're going to be able to get projects signed, executed through the NYSO process. And this will create a template for us as we go forward with additional projects. It also strengthens the potential for future partnerships. While this project doesn't have a partner, it's 100% owned. We have a lot of other projects where we're going to be partnering with the private sector. NYPA would have a 51% ownership interest, but this sends a signal to partners, right? That we're going to be a good partner in this work, much like in the transmission business. If you think about how our transmission partners value the NYPA participation. That's why we keep getting involved in big transmission work, because we're a good partner and we bring value to those partnerships. So we're confident now that we'll be able to bring that same value to renewables partnerships, having demonstrated this success. And again, as I've said, we're going to be doing this in a thoughtful way that makes sure that we're preserving the financial capacity and capability of the authority, but also leaning in and trying to play the most significant role that we can play as we go forward.
Make sure I got my blues and greens straight here.
Okay.
So, because I don't think the code on the bottom follows the flow on the top. So we got three.
This is all the pipeline, right?
Three gig that we approved, right?
In the strategic plan, right?
Right, and then the green is another 2.3 that is in diligence.
The dark green is NYPA-led distributed generation type projects, and then
I'm looking at the color.
Oh, okay, no,
we got 2.3.
You're talking
That's in diligence, right?
Yes,
the big green, the big box.
I thought you were referring to the other green.
That's what I said. The bottom doesn't follow the top, so I'm trying to just work my way over. So then then you got 300 megawatts that is what in structuring and negotiation. So that's through diligence, or that's
through diligence.
It is. So you don't work right to left.
No,
that's what I'm trying to follow.
So we're
is the 300 ahead of the 2.3, or is the 2.3 ahead of the 300 megawatts? I'm just trying to get the flow here. We need to organize. Flow.
Agreed. Yeah, maybe it's a little counterintuitive. The idea here is that we've got projects in multiple stages of either negotiation or due diligence that totals
pipeline report.
That totals 6 gigawatts.
Okay.
Some of them are projects that we're doing on our own. Some of them we're already engaged with the NYSO on. Others we're looking at more community-based DG or distributed generation level projects, and then the fatal flood dewage for future tranche is the 3. So it's actually the 3 on the left are the second tranche, the future tranche.
The where? The 3 on the left?
Yeah, the 3 on the left is not the 3.
I'm looking at the bars up top here. The numbers I can see. It seems like it's reversed. I mean, diligence ought to be on the far right. I'm trying to ensure we're not implying we got 2.3 gigawatts that's ready to pop into approval.
Correct.
Right? I mean, we got 3. I mean, I'm not trying to beat this up, but I am. But I mean, making sure I'm managing expectations. We don't have 2.3 ready for approval.
No.
Right.
No, the better box really is
on the far right over here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, those are the structuring and negotiations. Obviously, would be the furthest along.
Start with diligence, and you go through fatal flaw diligence, then restructuring. So we've got, it looks like 300 megawatts that's ready to.
Correct.
We got a better than 50-50 chance of making its way to approval, right?
Correct.
I'm trying to manage expectations as to what's coming next.
Yeah.
Okay. Not 2.3. That's just the beginning of the funnel. It works its way down.
Yeah.
So the good news is we got a lot in the funnel, but okay. Sorry.
Correct. And just again, if you look at the code at the bottom, the 3,000 or the 3 gigawatts on the left here, although that would be in the earliest stage. That's our earliest stage. That's the future tranche over here, earliest stage.
I thought that was the 3 we already approved.
No, that's the.
I'm looking at it backwards. My bad.
Yeah, that's okay. What we'll do is we'll do another slide that.
Other than that, I fully understood it.
That takes you through this.
I need a tutorial, one or the other.
No, they're all fair. They're all fair questions. It's confusing. But anyway, the bottom line is a lot of great work being done here. We've got multiple projects that total 6 gigawatts in some form of review.
Incremental to the 3 we have already approved.
Well, you've got 6 altogether, 3 approved and 3 coming behind it, right? 3 and 3.
Okay.
And this is the second 3, and that's the first 3 on the right-hand side.
Oh, the first 3 is over here. My bad. Now,
Yeah.
okay. All right. See, everybody.
No, they're all good questions. But anyway, so again, bottom line, a lot of great work being done.
We'll only ask good questions, but.
I know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, okay.
So what's popping out and what's live and the project you just talked about, the solar farm, is over here on the right.
Yeah, I mean, you could even say that that's further advanced and further to the right. It's already out of the starting gate. Yeah. But we've got 300 in structuring negotiations that's right behind that, and another 2,200 that are really close in terms of, full due diligence. And then we're, cautiously optimistic about
that.
This.
Was really clear. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Justin.
So we got a lot.
Yeah. So think I get it. Can you talk a little bit about the timing and all of this? And it probably goes even to the refresh as well and how they all overlap.
Yeah, I mean, again.
Well, there's capacity constraints here too.
Yeah.
It's not like everything is going to pop out the other end. That's part of what we got to.
And there are so many
Well,
different types of projects that we have here. So there's some that are what we call greenfield projects. We have actually a slide that kind of lays out the different types of projects. So co-developed, we're doing with the private sector. I just talked about the 20 megawatt Somers. It's already on its way. Structuring negotiations, got 5 projects there, 300 megawatts, and then full due diligence, 21 projects. Hopefully this is helpful to some of the earlier questions on the left-hand side there. And then on the greenfield projects, those are projects that we're doing on our own without a partner. And so you've got various stages of projects there. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight here, just in terms of the strategic importance of the work we're doing and how our day-to-day activities are kind of folding into the vision, is we're acquiring the parcel next to our plant in Astoria, 15-acre parcel that is going to be of great strategic value to us in the future. It'll be utilized to support the clean energy transition. It's obviously in an area that's has a lot of embedded energy infrastructure. It's on the water. It's next to our facility, and so we think it will only become more strategically important in the future. And so we're highlighting that here to demonstrate that as we bring you the strategic vision, we're already thinking in a strategic way about things we're going to be doing over the next 5 years to advance the state's clean energy goals.
Was that in green or purple or blue? Oh.
That was not on the other chart. So, I mean, just setting the stage then for, for where we're headed in Vision 2030. What we did is we took the strategic priorities and pillars and reshaped them to reflect where we are today. So,
can I just pause?
Of course.
So what do you want us to take away from the renewables? I mean, so roll it back 1 or 2. What do you want us to take away? What's your message to us and to the public in terms of where we are? Obviously, we're in the crosshairs. We're in the spotlight here. So what do you want us to take away, or what do you want the public to take away before we shift to the big picture?
So the message is, first of all, we've embedded all this renewables work into the strategic refresh, and it's a critical part. It's the biggest new input into the vision. And so that's very much a part of how we think about the next 5 years. But I think in terms of your specific question around renewables, as you know, we spent under the statute, we spent 2024 in a planning year and a structuring year. We created the financial structures, we created the team. We engaged in, policy review of around the country, who's doing renewables, who's doing it better, even around the world, and what are some of the lessons learned there and so forth. But now, having approved the strategic plan at just the last meeting
60
in
days ago, we
January,
approved the plan. Yep.
we've
60 days later,
we've already got a project up and running, the first of many to come. We've demonstrated our ability to excel in this work, and we've created a template for future use and for future projects. We've got a great pipeline established behind that project, but within the first couple of months here, we're going forward with a 100% owned NYPA project. That would be the message that I'd be looking to leave you with here.
okay. Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so just you'll recall we previously had 5 priorities, and we've reshaped those into what we think is better reflective of where we are today. So we have 4 strategic priorities. Excuse me. On the left, our clean energy priority now includes the renewables work. So we've basically incorporated what used to be our preserve the value of hydro and our decarbonization strategic priority under one clean energy priority, which also includes renewables. So it's a 3-pronged priority that we've established there. Transmission, obviously, critical part of our business, continuing to lean in there with new projects. That's just an acceleration of our work in transmission. So that hasn't really changed, other than demonstrating that we're going to continue to do bigger and more transmission work. That'll be critical to our success. On the customer side, our decarbonization, helping our customers with their decarbonization efforts, pretty similar to the prior priority. The only difference being that the customers are more sophisticated from an energy standpoint, and the transition is providing additional opportunities for us to serve those customers in a meaningful way. So coming to the customers with new technologies, whether it's virtual power plants or geothermal work or new technologies that can help them decarbonize their operations. So that's a continuation of a major focus on the customer and their decarbonization journeys. And then on the Canal priority, looking to really recognize the new need, I think, or newly recognized need for considerable focus on infrastructure, while at the same time continuing to do projects that improve the user experience at the canal. So that's the priorities. And then on the pillar front, and Danielle will get into this in more detail, but just a couple of things to highlight. So what used to be our digitalization is now part of our innovation foundational pillar. We think we've come a long way in terms of digitizing our operations. So now what do we do with that? We innovate with that digital platform. So that's how that's shifted. On the what used to be DEI is now broken into 2 groups: our own internal people and values internally to NYPA, and then increased focus on serving the diverse communities in which we operate. And that's the sort of the replacement, if you will, for what used to be just the DEI pillar. And then what used to be ESG kind of broken up into sustainability and resilience. So I don't want to steal too much of Daniella's thunder, but just setting the stage. Our plan was largely on track, the 2030 plan, but obviously so much going on that we needed to pivot, and I think we've done it in a way that sets us up for success. The bottom line here, the next 5 years are going to be about execution, adaptability, and importantly, community engagement and connectedness. And we're well positioned to do it. We're going to do big things here. We're well positioned across all fronts: financial, staffing, commitment, innovation, the quality of our people. And so unless there are any questions for me with that, I'd like to hand it over to Daniella. I'll come back up.
Why don't we save the questions for the back end?
Okay,
Let Danielle-
I'll come back up and after Daniela and kind of tie this up for you at that point. Thank you.
Welcome, Daniela.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, trustees, colleagues, members of the public. My name is Daniella Piper. I'm the EVP and Chief Innovation Officer at NYPA. I'm here on behalf of the staff and leadership of NYPA and Canals to request your approval for a refreshed strategic plan. So I'm going to get into some more details around the why, just in sort of summarized where we've arrived at. And so I'm just going to take a much longer time to tell you how we got here. So apologies in advance. So vision.
More importantly, where we're going.
Yes, exactly. So Vision 2030 was established in 2020. And so given that we were approaching the midpoint of the strategic plan, we felt that it was the right time to take a step back and reflect on whether we were on the right course, given all that we had accomplished and all of the changes. You've heard about some of them already. And so to use an analogy, if we were all on a ship together, we'd be looking out at the horizon, taking a look at the tides as well, and asking ourselves if we should be adjusting the sails. So today I'll share some details of our due diligence process, how our strategy has evolved, and our focus as an organization going forward. So for this process, in addition to engaging with you, our board, we engage with customers, internal stakeholders, subject matter experts, staff in various ways. We did surveys, we did workshops and interviews. And you, the board, challenged us to consider how risks informed our view of the future. And so as a result, we work closely with our risk group to assess risks and opportunities that confront us, to determine targeted areas where our competencies directly address evolving market needs and stakeholder needs. So this slide summarizes NYPA's 2024 year-end risk assessment, which Alexis has presented recently to the board. And so as we've talked about as an organization, we are facing an unprecedented pace of change. We're seeing shifts in federal policy, shifts in customer demands, technology is changing. And I want to take a minute to talk about some of the emerging risks that we are keeping our eye on. So I'm sure you've all heard about increasing load growth. The energy industry is facing, once in a multi-generational increase in load growth. And, there are questions about how that's going to affect affordability. There's also a risk that we might not be able to pivot quickly enough to meet rapidly evolving energy policy and regulations. There's also increasing opposition to new development that may impede progress towards modernizing the grid and meeting the evolving energy needs of the state and our customers. We also are hearing about a nuclear resurgence, which presents both a risk and an opportunity. And it can potentially divert investments from traditional renewables, but also it presents a new option for the state to address the energy needs. So as I share the details of this refresh strategy, I hope you will see that our plan reduces risks where possible, but it also demonstrates a willingness to adapt and take calculated risks, such as we have done in the creation of these creative partnerships that have made us very successful in the transmission space in response to the needs of our customers and the state. So the insights we've gathered allow us to map our evolution from 2020 through today and project into 2030. And so what we've done is we've laid out this evolution along 3 dimensions: market and policy conditions, or core competencies and competitive advantage, and also strategic insights and opportunities. So I'll walk you through all of these to give you a sense of where we were, where we feel we're positioned now, and where we think we're going. And all of that informs the plan, as you will see. So I'm going to start with market and policy conditions. So in 2020, New York State was at approximately 28% renewable electricity. And there were targets to increase that number to 70% by 2030 and achieve a fully decarbonized grid by 2040. Today, we all know the state is lagging slightly, and forecasts indicate that we will achieve about 53% electricity from renewables by 2030. In addition, we're seeing because of increased electrification of transportation, heating and cooling for buildings, and an increased demand for energy from advanced manufacturing and data centers, There are projections that the state will need almost 20 gigawatts of new renewable resources to meet the goals of 100% clean energy by 2040. You know about our expanded authority. There's also this nuclear resurgence, and that provides additional pathways to achieving the goals of CLCPA. Now, despite all of this, one thing is clear, that the state remains committed to a just transition to a net zero economy, and NYPA has a role to play in delivering that. So I'm going to move to grid conditions. So in 2020, the grid faced congestion and challenges with integration of renewable energy. There are over 275 applications in the interconnection queue. Today, we've seen tremendous progress. There have been adjustments, there have been siting reforms, but there's still almost 500 applications in interconnection queue, and we're seeing generator deactivations outpacing the addition of new supply. For 2020, the ISO forecast that there'll be 23% increase in congestion statewide, and the grid will transition to a winter peaking grid due to electrification of heating and transportation. More recently, there's been an exciting development that comes from the PSC Grid of the Future proceeding, which estimates that New York will have 3 gigawatts of grid flexibility potential by 2030 and 8 gigawatts by 2040. And this is really tremendous because it's an opportunity to manage the cost of the transition through the management of demand and supply behind the meter. Moving on to market dynamics. So in 2020, economic pressures on traditional energy markets prevailed, and the PSC's Reforming the Energy Vision proceeding sought to animate the market at the grid edge. Customer solutions were primarily focused on energy efficiency type solutions. Today, markets have evolved, and we're seeing supply chain disruptions, interest rate fluctuations, commodity price volatility. There's uncertainty about offshore wind. In 2030, we expect that markets will place an even greater value on flexible energy resources like hydro, while AI-based solutions will support a much more dynamic energy market. Moving on to policy evolutions and further factors. So in 2020, we were in the throes of integrating an aging canal system with limited funding and reduced commercial shipping. Today, we've significantly de-risked the canal system through infrastructure investments and the application of asset management best practices. More recently, we have secured $54 million in capital appropriation from the state. In the 2023 enacted budget, as you know, we received the expanded authority, and that was an exciting new tool in our toolbox to address customer and state needs. This year, we see a shift in federal policy towards energy dominance, while cybersecurity and extreme weather events remain a significant risk. So looking forward to 2030, we anticipate that policy evolution will continue to emphasize enhanced community engagement and affordability to manage the energy transition equitably. So I'm going to move to our core competencies and competitive advantage, starting with power generation, which is core to all that we do, who we are and all that we do. So in 2020, NYPA provided 25% of New York's electricity, with 80% coming from carbon-free hydropower. Today, our $1.2 billion investment in NextGen Niagara is well underway to extend the life of that asset and ensure that it will continue to support the reliability of the grid for the next 60 years. Looking forward towards 2030, we envision a fully decarbonized operations with an expanded portfolio of emissions-free resources, including 450 gigawatt of storage, mature virtual power plant capability that allows us to tap into that share of New York's grid flexibility potential. Moving to transmission and infrastructure. So in 2020, our $750 million transmission life extension modernization efforts were well underway, along with a multi-million-dollar communication backbone and sensor deployment program. At that time, we had unveiled the first evolved New York high-speed electric vehicle charging hub. By this year, we had executed on our commitment to be the leading transmission developer in the state, completing projects such as Smart Path and Central East Energy Connect. By 2030, we aim to achieve climate resilient operations with clarity on nuclear and wind energy integration in the transmission system. Moving to customer and innovation. So in 2020, we had a solid track record of customer partnerships, delivering clean energy solutions such as energy efficiency and street lighting. Our digital transformation was well underway through Agile, or Integrated Smart Operating Center, and New York Energy Manager platforms. Today, We're developing new customer offerings and digital capabilities are maturing with AI integration. As we move towards 2030, we envision a more sophisticated customer engagement model supporting a range of behind-the-meter solutions with increased grid integration. For example, vehicle-to-grid, virtual power plants, thermal energy networks, along with a comprehensive AI-enabled enterprise and operations ecosystem. So financial strength and funding and workforce. So you already heard from Adam about our financial strength and Justin as well. In 2020, NYPA maintained a strong balance sheet with investment-grade credit ratings. We placed an emphasis on embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion in how we work and what we do. We also focused on workforce development and planning to build organizational resiliency. Today, NYPA has committed $25 million annually to developing the state's clean energy workforce and allocated over $25 million to date. We've secured federal grant awards totaling over $100 million for various projects and developed core capabilities in new areas of business, such as in renewable development. By 2030, NYPA would have invested over $150 million in developing the clean energy workforce of the future while fostering a collaborative knowledge-sharing culture that prioritizes safety and inclusivity. So this summary of where we were, where we are, and where we're going directionally sets the stage for areas that we're going to focus on going forward. But before I get to summarize those areas of focus, I want to put a spotlight on the successes of our plan so far, which form the foundation of our plans going forward. So our ability to establish innovative partnerships coupled with expertise in asset management, large infrastructure project delivery, and power system engineering have allowed us to deliver grid and customer solutions. In addition to strengthening our existing asset base, we've added over 150 miles of new transmission. We've installed over 1,000 charging ports in support of customer fleet electrification and the Evolve program. We've installed 64 megawatts of distributed solar at customer sites and 22 megawatt of storage. Now, this is short of our goal, but we're excited about the renewables efforts and how that can help us achieve the goals that we've established for ourselves. We've delivered over 9.6 trillion BTUs of energy savings to customers through our energy efficiency projects and increased the number of customers we serve by 16% since 2020. We've also set up a new team, as you know, to deliver expanded portfolio of renewable energy assets. So at NYPA and Canals, we're fortunate to have a purpose-driven and committed workforce. And through our talent development programs, we delivered customized training and exposure to help all staff reach their full potential. Since 2020, staff have ranked NYPA one of the best mid-sized employees on 3 occasions. We've doubled down on our commitment to D&I internally and externally, integrating D&I into the fabric of NYPA and expanding the number of diverse suppliers that we work with. Through the Future Energy Leader Scholarship Program, we have delivered scholarships to 50 students and hosted 82 PTech interns since 2020. We've also expanded our Advanced Grid Innovation Laboratory for Energy, a leading power system laboratory that is designed to accelerate the deployment of grid solutions and the integration of renewable generation. We've also enhanced our asset management capabilities with advanced analytics, an industry-leading robotics program. We were the first utility to receive authorization for drone flights beyond visual line of sight. Now, all of this is predicated on maintaining a strong financial position, balancing the need for investments in existing assets with our portfolio of customer projects and new areas of growth. And our recent credit rating upgrades are a testament to the effectiveness of our financial strategies. Now, I want to take a minute to highlight that though we have based all plans going forward on risks that we have identified, there remains uncertainty associated with the times that we're in. And of note, of course, which Justin mentioned, is the new financial administration, the new federal administration. We're seeing tariffs, there's still inflation. There's a potential for reduced federal investment in clean technology innovation, which can drive costs up. There's also uncertainty around offshore wind, which may drive a need for more land-based solutions and additional transformation in other areas. Now, this administration seems supportive of nuclear, but it's left to be seen what investments they will make to make the most of this resurgence. So what are our conclusions from the midpoint assessment that we've undertaken? And so this slide summarizes it. We have validated the strategic direction of the organization. Our vision, mission, and mission remain unchanged. We're adjusting the sails in response to a changing tide. At NYPA, our mission is to lead the transition to a carbon-free, economically vibrant New York through customer partnerships, innovative solutions, and the responsible supply of electricity. At the canals, it is to operate and maintain a premier waterway and trail system that honors the unique recreational and tourism opportunities while also promoting sustainable economic development throughout the canal corridor. We feel that our progress is on track despite the challenging energy markets, and we've made tactical adjustments to ensure resilience against evolving market conditions. We've streamlined the priorities for impact and strengthened the foundational pillars for future needs. Now, we recognize that we're managing a moving target, and we must build resilience and be agile in response to change. We also recognize our customer needs have changed and require a focus on innovation and deeper partnerships. Improving the user experience and community revitalization remain key elements of our canal's vision, along with safe and secure investments, while seeking funds to meet the long-term needs of the canal. We believe that the capabilities we have built position us to meet the needs of the moment. And so, as Justin said, the next 5 years are about execution, adaptability, and community engagement. So the next slide, this is a summary of our revised priorities and pillars, and Justin talked about it a bit. So we have 4 priorities and 5 pillars. We had 5 priorities previously. What we've done is we've consolidated our efforts around clean energy. So we have combined preserve and enhance the value of hydro along with our decarbonization efforts and brought in our renewables portfolio. That's all now under driving the clean energy transformation. We also continue to invest in transmission, and we're going to build on our success, and we're committed to continuing investments in transmission annually. On the customer side, we're building on our role and our reputation as a trusted advisor and developing more sophisticated offerings for our customers to overcome barriers. And we have a renewed focus on innovation in partnership with our customers because we know that there are some hard to decarbonize areas that require these types of partnerships. As we celebrate the bicentennial of the canals, we are committed stewards, and we're seeking to enhance public safety and the user experience. And we'll prioritize safe and secure investments based on an increased understanding of asset risk and a focus on climate resilience, ensuring the canals will continue to serve communities for another 200 years. So we've strengthened the pillars. As Justin mentioned, what we've done is previously we had a D&I pillar that had internal facing components and an external facing component. We now have people and values, which is built on our D&I pillar, and it's been expanded to integrate talent development, building those critical capabilities that we need to in staff and focusing on driving that safety first culture. In recognition of where we are today, NYPA, now that we're building additional assets, we are reaching communities that we haven't reached before. And so the communities pillar is a recognition of our expanded impact. What we've done is we've incorporated some of our programs that wanted the D&I pillar, for example, under our environmental justice program, we had PTech, the scholarship program. We also had a supply diversity program. And what we've done is we've brought in our workforce development program. And all of these seek to support communities that we impact. As Justin mentioned, we're building on our digitalization efforts. And so now we're tapping into the creativity of our people and our investments. We're emphasizing innovation, which is critical to performance and growth. And we're focused on realizing the value of our investments through the creation of an ecosystem that accelerates grid modernization and enables next generation customer decarbonization technologies. Sustainability. So after we successfully met our goal of being the first utility to issue an ESG report, we're now focused on comprehensive climate adaptation planning and the integration of sustainability into what we do every day. And the resilience, we've expanded it from traditional infrastructure hardening to positioning the organization to recognize and respond to changes in our operating environment, ensuring that the org has the capacity to swiftly and effectively recover from disruption. So you've seen and heard about our new priorities and pillar. Putting them into action requires planning, governance, and effective implementation. In order to drive accountability, we established key roles for each priority and pillar, ensuring clear ownership at every level of the organization. We also have key performance indicators and monthly reporting to keep us focused on critical milestones and allow us to respond quickly to challenges or market conditions. So our goal is to provide you with regular updates as we typically do on the progress towards our goal. We recognize that the strategy is a living document, and so we expect to have regular discussions with you on how changes in our risk profile impact the strategy, and we'll align those discussions with the enterprise risk program and deliver updates and look and forward looks on a quarterly and year-end basis. So this is our strategy on a page, and as an organization, we are proud of our accomplishments and excited about this plan and the opportunities that lie ahead. It's really an exciting time in the industry, and we have a long history of stepping up and delivering for the people of New York, and we feel that we are well positioned to meet the moment. So I will pause and take any questions.
Pause and catch your breath.
Good job. Thank you. Thank you.
Is that all you have to say, Daniella? Anything you want to add to that?
I tried to be brief.
Or fast, one or the other, or a little bit of both.
Yeah.
No, it's terrific. I will go around here and everybody can, weigh in, but kudos to you and the team. You put a lot into this at a critical time, obviously for the organization and the role we play. We appreciate the efforts over the last month in particular with us to bring us along. Great opportunity for the public to hear the outcomes of that. And it's a fantastic recap and summary of where we are and more importantly, where we're going. And as one who loves to embrace the opportunity that comes with change and the opportunity that risk creates, it's a thread the needle moment, and we're very, very good at execution and threading the needle. And I'm confident as we continue to lean in and adapt. What I heard is we're adapting more than we're adjusting. We're not changing course. We're just figuring out how we better navigate the right and best path forward. So kudos all the way around to you, and it just generates a sense of excitement and enthusiasm, hopefully for the entire organization.
Yeah,
for the years ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had great engagement during this past year with staff across the organization, and we've had discussions. And there is a lot of excitement. It's excitement. At NYPA, we have a lot of purpose-driven people who are passionate about the energy industry and what NYPA can do, the impact that we have. And I think given all the areas we've expanded into, our reach, our workforce development programs, renewables, people are excited about what we have in store. And despite the challenges, I think it makes it exciting. We have to be creative. We have to be innovative. We have to be constantly scanning the horizon, looking at what's happening with technology, what's happening with policy, what's happening with markets, and really adjusting rapidly. So it's really an exciting time for the organization. I think we have the staff to meet the moment.
No question. Team B, thoughts?
What comes to mind right away is I've seen this organization in my time on the board become a whole organization, and that organization of different parts, right? And it's very reflective here, and it's the commitment to the energy industry in New York and the commitment to the people of New York and the communities of New York is highlighted in this document in a way that I think will serve us.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Louis, I know your time is limited. Before we lose you, opportunity to share your thoughts or thinking.
Yeah, so I just wanted to thank Daniella, her teams, the organization. What I draw from this is that not only is innovation and sort of the entire portfolio of what NYPA does, transmission, clean energy, canals, but I love the fact that we build in capabilities with our own team, but we build in the communities, how we impact to have a clean energy and resilient grid transmission and delivering power throughout the state. So I'm very impressed. I've seen how this has been developed with community input, with our from across the state, full community input, our partners, strategic partners, and this is really a thoughtful, integrated, intelligent plan. So I just wanted to thank the organization, and it's a plan for the future. And I love the agility, the agility part around this. You have to have a plan. you have to be thoughtful, but you also have to be nimble as we execute. So simply love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis?
You know, I think it's just the work that you do and the enthusiasm you bring not only to this table today, but to the public is just amazing, okay? And you know, the public deserves that, and NYPA is doing a fantastic job, and you're doing a great job.
I appreciate that. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. We're really honored to
Definitely
serve.
show them, you know, to every meeting you're at. You know,
Thank you.
so,
Thank you.
Laurie, your thoughts or perspectives?
Yeah, again, excellent work to everyone, the whole team. I mean, this slide alone is just, it's chock full and it is the heart of the plan. So.
We never have much white space on
Right.
that slide.
Right,
It's like,
that is good.
the word count alone and the images, but you know, to go back, I guess, to our analogy of being in the boat, there's definitely waves coming, there's fog, but we have a plan. And I think that's what's exciting is we as New York have to stay focused. We can't panic, we have to focus. And so some of these, you know, points just really do bleed into each other so well, and creating that nimble nature that we have to have. The renewables piece, it's so important. It's that hope, it's that work. That goes into the deeper relationships. What's going to make us successful are those relationships that connect to the renewables, to the communities that we're not going to forget about. Like that right there is important. Sustainability, you know, this is an area, again, I've highlighted, I want to learn more about, because I think it is the key to connecting every other point up there in such a powerful way. And so I think it's, you know, fantastic. We have that as a pillar and something I personally want to learn, you know, more about. Decarbonization, like that is such important work. It's tricky, but another one of those keys to being successful with our partners and our customers. And then the canals. I mean, I think, you know, again, I fully remember when, you know, there was the handoff to NYPA, and seeing how far it's come is just, it's unbelievable. And knowing that we have state commitment, and knock on wood, that, you know, continues forward, but again, bleeds into everything that's up there. So I think it's very exciting. And this is where it's like, okay, we stay calm, we stay focused, and just thank you for doing that.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Michael,
Thank you.
nodding in agreement, but verbalize.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you, Daniella, for this presentation. I'm glad that the chairman gave you some time to breathe. I don't know how you breathe during that whole thing, but this is, again, I'm blown away by the presentations that are given here by NYPA and their staff. And, you know, this isn't, for the public's knowledge, this isn't the first time we're seeing a lot of this. You know, the trustees have been briefed daily by your team, and Justin, by your team here at NYPA, and it really has educated me and my colleagues. I like the fact that you call this a living document, because coming from the legislature, we had a lot of living documents, some that I wish were dead, but this being a living document is very important in these uncertain times we're in right now. And the fact that NYPA and your team is able to keep these private partnerships alive during these uncertain times, that a lot of folks don't know what they're going to do, and that the community is bought into this too. I too saw the work of the NYPA team out there in the public and fielding a lot of these questions, and a lot of ideas outside of some of the renewables that may not be on the federal wish list right now is important for the public to hear, to be able to tell us and feel that we're hearing it. And that's what I think was the Yeoman's job by your team that got done in doing all of this for Vision 2030. So I just say, you know, we're ready for the next 5 years. As my colleague has just said, it is going to be choppy waters. And that's why we need to adapt. And this document that you presented today to the board will allow us to adapt in a very skillful way. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cecily, anything to add?
Second everything everybody said. I think we have a great plan. It's fluid, it's flexible, but it represents our plan, what we want to do, what we want to accomplish, and why. And this slide, I agree with, I think Louis and Laurie both said, this slide represents the heart of the plan. But I was most struck by what you said just a few minutes ago. You said it's purpose-driven, passionate people. I think that says it all. The people that you work with, and that is reflected right here. And
Thank you.
Can't say anything better than it. I think it's a wonderful presentation of everything you've all been working on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a team effort, and it definitely reflects the people of the organization. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Well, yeah, you're an incredibly mission-driven organization.
Yes.
And at times of uncertainty and challenge, you either check in or you check out. And this is evidence that we're all in and determined to truly optimize the moment. And as you've heard from all of us, thread the needle to ensure we keep pulling the train forward in a very appropriate and necessary fashion. So kudos. Before we call for the vote, Justin, you want some concluding remarks to wrap it up? Great job, Danielle.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you. Thanks again, Daniella. So it gives you a sense of where we've been and where we're heading. So before calling for a vote, I just wanted to maybe give you a sense of kind of what our asset portfolio might look like, separate and apart from the canals. It isn't depicted here, which obviously over 500 miles of canal infrastructure that we're managing and that we're very proud of. And we're going to be hearing from the canal team, excited about their presentations about the coming year. But in addition to canals, this is basically our existing transmission footprint. Obviously, you know where our plants are. But just give you a sense of what in 2030, what we might be operating in just in terms of what we know about now. This map depicts all the Evolve chargers. So I don't think we all realize what Evolve really meant to this organization. This is the first time we really had a business to customer business here. We're responsible for servicing all these communities where these Evolve chargers located. As you know, we're up to 400 Evolve chargers now. We're second only to Tesla in terms of deployment of fast chargers around the state. But we're responsible for that asset base now, and we touch all those communities. And then overlaying that and looking back to our prior slide, Chairman, on the renewables. So those green dots are renewables that are in our strategic plan. So that's the 3 gigawatts of renewables that we've identified. So, if you think about a scenario where that's just the beginning of an asset base that we're going to be responsible for around the state, not to mention the new transmission work. It's hard to see here, but the Propel project is in yellow on Long Island there, and then potentially even the 5-borough transmission project in New York City if we get selected there. So, like I said, that renewable, those renewable projects are going to only grow from there. But just in terms of what we're working on now, that's gives you an idea of the growth and the scale of our operation. So,
let alone how it fills in progressively over the next 5 years.
Correct. So we're really excited about it. It really expands the reach of NYPA. We think we have a great brand. And so getting out of these communities, making sure, of course, there's risk here, making sure that those Evolve chargers are working in all those communities, making sure those renewable projects are generating. And again, more to come there. But we're really excited about what this means for the organization. And with your support, we're going to knock the ball out of the park over the next 5 years. So if there are any additional questions, I would ask for the board's vote in favor of the Vision 2030 renewed strategic plan.
B, thank you very much. Dennis, second. Unless there's any other questions or concerns, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? An enthusiastic and strong endorsement. So
Thank you.
very well done for
Thanks.
you, Danielle, and the entire organization.
Thank you. Thank you.
As we've confirming the obvious, all that comes in times of incredible change and uncertainty and risk, and how we navigate and keep our eye on all of that is all the more critical and all the more important how we adapt and adjust with our risk management policies and programs. So Alexis, kind of play off of that and talk to us a bit about the path forward and what's coming at us.
Yes, it's still morning. Good morning, trustees, colleagues, and members of the public. Our risk spotlight for this month is on the regulatory and legislative environment, specifically the federal transition. I know this is a topic most are not aware of, so we will be spending a couple minutes this morning bringing our audience up to speed. If you will recall, in January at our Risk and Resiliency Committee meeting, I shared that we flagged the potential for changes coming from the new federal administration as one of our emerging risks on our dashboard. And indeed, since the inauguration, we have seen an unprecedented number of executive orders, memorandums, and other formal actions, as well as corresponding reactions from the legislative and judicial branches of government, and all of these coming rapid fire at us. This has introduced complex uncertainties, both in the US and globally. To aid our navigation, we have mobilized key subject matter experts across NYPA and Canals and have taken the following approach. First, legal and policy and regulatory affairs are continuously monitoring and tracking the presidential actions and federal developments, and that's both through formal and informal channels so that we're aware. Together with Guidehouse Consulting and external counsel, they are really helping to identify those specific items that are actually relevant to NYPA and Canals, or to New York State Energy, or to the energy sector at large, and then help us understand the implications. So this is to ensure that we keep focused and don't try to boil the ocean. And it's also ensuring that internally we have one source of the truth when we're referencing these items and reviewing our work plans. Currently, there are 3 items that we're reviewing because they have the most potential for impact. And these include the import tariffs, the Unleashing American Energy Executive Order, and the Wind Generation Memorandum. So starting with the import tariffs, this would be those inclusive on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China. Also, potentially steel and aluminum, and this is not the introduction of new tariffs. It is increased to 25% and removing exceptions that used to be in place. And there's possible for additional products going forward. Along with this, there are 2 complications. One is the treatment of electricity, which still remains up in question, and also the possibility of retaliation by other countries as they respond to the US imposed tariffs on their products. In terms of the Unleashing American Energy Executive Order, this paused the IIJA and IRA fund disbursements, and it also looks to expedite permitting of domestic energy resources. So that's pretty much a mixed bag. NYPA does not directly depend on federal funding. However, we do pursue opportunities for these grants to help offset costs, especially for our customers. The expediting of permitting, it's really too early to tell. There could be some benefit there, but again, we're trying not to speculate. So something that, again, we continue to watch. And then in terms of the Wind Generation Memorandum, this pauses new approvals, leasing and permitting for both on and offshore wind, as permitting priorities and process changes are contemplated US-wide. Our legal and regulatory affairs team then feed the latest vetted developments through these priority areas into a cross-functional federal transition working group that we've established. It includes members from our SSM, operations, customer solutions, finance, legal, risk, external affairs, and cybersecurity areas to make sure that we have a comprehensive view of the different potential challenges and opportunities that we might be facing. This group meets weekly to get together to identify and assess possible impacts and to share any current observations or experiences from their portion of the business. We're also leveraging APPA, LPPC, and other industry memberships that we have, as well as staying in close contact with the New York ISO and, of course, with the governor's office. To push our thinking further and to help uncover potential secondary and tertiary impacts, we brought in Toffler Associates to facilitate scenario workshops. We had one with our working group, our SMEs at first, and then we had a follow-up one with our executive team. Scenario thinking is a component of our plan to enhance our resilience capabilities. And so never to waste a good crisis, we moved fast to pilot its use for our thinking around the federal transition. The framework for these workshops appears on the right-hand side. You can see it included consideration of policies, global reactions, supply chain, the workforce, and this was actually related to the potential changes to DEI and immigration policies, projects, and of course, our customers and communities across the state. Through these efforts, we identified and prioritized potential challenges and even possible benefits, such as new talent coming into the market that might be interested now in working in state energy. So sort of keeping our minds open and not all just on the negatives that we might be fearing for. These prioritized challenges and potential benefits are being mapped to our enterprise risks, and that's allowing for a very natural and organic way to link to be able to view versus our risk appetite, and of course, our delivery of Vision 2030 renewed. Our preliminary assessments so far have not shown NYPA and Canals to be significantly impacted in the near term directly by any of these three types of orders that we've discussed. This is primarily because our existing practices and our operating model build in some natural protections. And as an example, we already have Buy America clauses in our contracts, and we already have long-term contracts in place for major pieces of equipment. This is a natural mitigation against the potential steel price increases that we've been hearing about. So what our working group will continue to work on is to watch for indications of medium and long-term impacts, especially indirect ones. And what I mean by that, as an example, is the effect that the tariffs and escalated or prolonged trade disagreements and tensions can have on overall supply chain, which in the long term could actually put some pressure in terms of availability of the products and materials, which could in turn cause delays. So again, it's a little bit more indirect. Another example would be how federal funding challenges might not directly impact NYPA and Canals. However, there may be cost pressures that our customers and communities face, and it might actually cause them to think a little bit differently about some of their own priorities. So these dynamics are multifaceted and the outcomes cannot be predicted. Our working group currently is performing some additional targeted assessments on our top projects, on understanding more what our potential customers' concerns might be, and they are regularly keeping executive leadership informed of their insights and if they have any potential recommendations. So this report might seem a little bit anticlimactic, but what we are not doing is being reactive or speculative. What we are doing is continuously monitoring and assessing. And we have also ensured that internally we've positioned ourselves to efficiently escalate any concerns through our existing decision-making channels as and if warranted. So I kept my update simple today. I think I'll pause here and just see if there are any questions from the trustees.
Talk a little, you said, so Buy American, long-term purchasing, the offshore wind. I mean, clearly that has some impact on our thinking and projects. You know, the transmission component, although we're progressing. Can you talk a little bit more there?
Can talk a little bit about that, being again careful not to speculate, but our position has been that transmission assets in particular are a backbone, are an important vehicle for connecting customers with energy, no matter what the generation source may be, which makes that a very prudent investment on NYPA's behalf or the state's behalf. There are not significant, again, immediate impacts that we're aware of to any of our projects. We've heard earlier from Justin that a fair portion of our initial renewables portfolio is focused on solar, which is, again, we're not hearing a lot of signals or seeing so far that our developers are being particularly shy.
Okay.
Maybe I could just add, Chairman, with the transmission, the benefits are twofold, right? It's one benefit is enabling the offshore wind delivery, but the other benefit is just the resilience that many of these projects are undergrounding high voltage transmission in areas that need to harden their grid. So there's always that resilience benefit that you can't lose sight of on the transmission work.
Yeah. And I certainly endorse and support the don't being speculative or,
Yes.
you know, overly reactive. That said, just, you know, Captain Obvious, eyes wide open, the
Mhm.
indirect impacts,
Yes.
the cumulative weight of the
Yes.
indirect impacts over time,
Mhm.
just, you know, will weigh on us.
Yeah, no
There's no
Yes.
question.
Yes.
I know you're not saying to the contrary, but,
Yes.
yeah, we'll just have to monitor, but I fully support and appreciate. Yep, let's stay steady and keep leaning and keep, you know, pushing and keep leading. Wrong time to, you know, retreat to the sidelines.
Agreed.
Yes.
So,
Other questions?
other thoughts, questions for Alexis on any of that?
Much appreciated.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, everybody's getting a round of applause today, all right. Dennis, I want to thank you, Dennis, for a fine, okay. Canals, we've talked a lot about canals, again today, but this is a big year, for the canal. So pleased to have, as I said earlier, a full squad turnout, Brian, Rebecca, and Dave here, to present to us today. So Brian, you're going to kick that off and the podium is yours. So got a handout already. All right. Thank you, Brian. Got my card, got my bumper sticker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, almost good afternoon to NYPA trustees, Canal and NYPA colleagues, members of the public. It is a pleasure to be here getting ready for a very exciting year, the beginning of our 201st consecutive season of navigation on the Erie Canal. Opening day is Friday, May 16th. I have cards, I have sheets. We want to invite all of you to join us at Lock E2 in Waterford. We're happy to have three of our trustees join us.
Dean told me
year,
last
but this-
night, though, this is 7 in the morning, Brian.
Well,
I
it
don't
begins
operate
at
at 7 in the
but,
morning.
but we can wait until 8
Oh,
for you, Chairman.
I heard the boats won't wait though, so.
And open the gate, they're waiting.
I want to let you know that we are guided through our planning work by members of the Governor Hochul's bicentennial commission, which she announced in July of last year, and we have been meeting regularly since. I'm joined in co-chairing the committee with our first gentleman, and we are joined by Secretary of State Walter Mosley, New York State Empire State Development President Hope Knight, and the Commissioner Pro Tem of the New York State Department of Parks and Historic Preservation, Randy Simons. The commission, if we can go on to the next slide, the commission has been focused primarily on maximizing the number of events and opportunities for organizations and communities to be able to commemorate the great news that is 200 years of the Erie Canal. This includes a series, Albany Symphony Orchestra series that is going to be getting underway through the July 4th week. That'll include performances across the canal. We have a new documentary series produced by PBS and WMHT, which is the PBS affiliate in Albany. It is going to begin airing in segments next month. It'll air not only in Albany, but on PBS member stations across the state. And the full documentary will premiere at the World Canals Conference in Buffalo, September 21st through 25th. The New York State Lottery has come on board big time. They are having a Erie Canal Bicentennial Raffle, which will provide 15 chances for members of the public to win $1 million. So everybody sings about 15 miles on the Erie Canal. We're going to be singing very soon about 15 million on the Erie Canal, as well as many
Is there a
smaller
separate pool
prizes.
for the board or how is that gonna work?
I think you're exempt, Chairman. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
come on, Brian, come on.
Did we sign some form this morning? I don't know.
I don't know. Let's get that form back.
We're also working with the Department of State and the New York State Commission on African American history to ensure that we tell a very inclusive story about the history of the canal and its impact. We are looking to organize a bicentennial flotilla with members of the public following the Seneca Chief when it sets off on its 30-day journey from the World Canals Conference to New York Harbor. So we're looking for members of the public, small in number, to join the flotilla between Buffalo and Albany. This is all going to culminate
It
with.
starts in the air in Lake Erie, Justin, okay? Yeah.
This is all going to culminate on Sunday, October 26th at Pier 26 in New York Harbor in the Hudson River Park. And that date, it marks 200 years to the day when Governor DeWitt Clinton opened the canal in 1825. So this will be a very important day, and we're going to invite you to come and join us at Pier 26 along the Hudson as we recreate the Wedding of the Waters and celebrate 200 years to the day. I am very pleased to let you know that the West Point Band has agreed to perform for us on that day, just as they did 200 years ago for Governor DeWitt Clinton in 1825. So it's a really big deal to be able to have the West Point Band join us. Next slide, please. That's just a glimpse of the things that are going on. Our partners at the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor have launched an interactive bicentennial calendar. You can go on and see what is planned for the months ahead. There are more than 100 events posted. As of today, there are more added every day. So you can go to every day of the week and every month leading up to October 26th and see what is planned across the state. Next slide, please. And of course, we're all very excited waiting for the arrival of the World Canals Conference, which begins on Sunday, September 21st in Buffalo. And we are even more excited that the trustees are going to be holding their September board meeting, your September board meeting, in Buffalo, and have the opportunity to join us for many of the things going on. Call for presentations has yielded more than 60 submissions from 11 countries. Registration, sponsorship, and excitement continues to build. And I am also happy to tell you that additionally, several proposals from NYPA and Canal Corporation staff were selected to cover topics ranging from the historic role of lock tenders to presentations by artists and residents, and additionally capital projects like the construction of the Brockport pedestrian bridge are going to be features, as well as the application of a slurry wall on the earthen embankment in Royalton. So a lot of good participation, not only from people submitting from around the world, but also our NYPA and Canal Corporation colleagues. There's going to be a pre-conference, so early arrivals coming in are going to be able to join the America Gateway Tour to lead registered pre-conference arrivals on an historic motor coach journey from New York to Buffalo, following the footsteps of immigrants who came to America. And a post-conference tour will explore the Buffalo art scene, Niagara Falls, Canadian points of interest, including the Welland Canal. Regular updates can be found at WCC2025buffalo.com. Mr. Chairman, I've got more handouts for you and the members of the board, which we can do following the conclusion of the board meeting. And again, to emphasize opening day, we hope you will join us. We hope you will consider joining us, and I'm sure we can find something for our late arrivals, as well as those who may want to join for the TV interviews beginning at 6:30 or 7 a.m. Justin has already told us that he's going to be there. So Justin, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Very exciting, Brian. It's appreciate the enthusiasm as always, but yeah, it's exciting times, and it's just great to see. We're all looking forward to it. Don't want to think about September. At this point, it's only March. We got a great summer ahead of us, but that's certainly going to be a great way to kick off the start of fall, and great time of the year in upstate New York in particular.
We're really looking forward to it. I would like to now hand it over to Rebecca to give us more updates. Thank you, sir.
While Rebecca's getting set, Laurie, B, and I went to the opening Laurie B and I went to the opening last year. It is so much fun and it's so educational, and this year's gonna even be a bigger deal. So I encourage our co-trustees to try to get over there and watch.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. Thank you for the
All right.
plug.
Great segue, Rebecca.
And good afternoon, NYPA and Canal, members of the board, colleagues, members of the public. Thank you for your time this afternoon. So just as Vision 2030 is our roadmap and our business plan, during the January meeting, you heard from my colleague Justine, who presented the Canal Recreation Ways 2050 plan, which is our big why. It's our vision for the future. Similar to what Daniella said, we're looking back at where we've been, we're assessing where we are today, and we're looking ahead to where we're going on the horizon. And a lot of the plan for 2050 thinks about treating our canal sites like a park system and being deliberate and investing in where we're welcoming the public to visit with us. So that's our why. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the how of how we're going to get there. Next slide, please. So when we think about the canal system, more than 500 miles of waterway, trail, park-like spaces where we're welcoming the public, having a brand identity is really important. So this is just a preview of our standardized kit of parts. We'll be more deliberate, more intentional about the look and feel of our canal sites. And like many of the items that I'll talk about today, this serves a dual purpose. So it gives that visual recognition that I am at a canal site, I'm welcome here, there's the amenities that I need in order to recreate. And we're also standardizing so that we can be more efficient in how we maintain these things. So, keeping a stockpile of parts makes it easier for our maintenance crews to go out and make repairs when equipment is in need of that or needs to be replaced. Next slide, please. Similarly, signage. You don't know how important signage is until it is inaccurate or missing. We've worked really hard to come up with this brand identity for our signage at our canal locks along the Empire State Trail, which is comprised of the Canalway Trail along the Erie and the Champlain. And this is going to make it easier for our visitors to know where they are along the system, what amenities are located in the towns where they stop. And this also kind of opens up the next phase of this standardization work, which is to standardize public safety signage. When you're near a low-head dam, we're also standardizing our safety barriers like railings and fencing. So what I hope you take away from this is that we use amenities and signage to pull people to where we want them to recreate, and we can also use standardized amenities to keep people away from hazards. And this is something I've spoken about a lot with Steve Rutledge in recent weeks and months, thinking about not just how do we make the system safer from a large infrastructure perspective, but each site where we're welcoming the public, how do we make sure that they're safe while they're interacting with our iconic spaces? Next slide, please. We're also, in honor of the bicentennial, introducing some new iconography. We've updated these identifiers.
Iconography?
Yeah, it's something I learned from David Delashio. It's apparently a word that refers to icons that are symbols of a sense of place. So we've updated these, maybe 4 or 5 times in the past century or so. You'll often see them on Canal's apparel. The prior Canalway identifier had a packet boat with people in top hats and, kind of leisurely going toward the Western Expanse. This one, it was really important to me that we're celebrating our workforce. So what you see here is a workboat going through a lock and thinking about everything that it takes to maintain this historic system. And then similarly for the trail, thinking about its connectivity to nature and how it enhances the sense of place. So we have icons for both the Erie, Canalway Trail, and the Champlain. Next slide. And then lastly, we are also developing some standards for vegetation at our sites. And similar to the thinking behind amenities, a lot of our sites are really dominated by turf grass. And by thinking about our different climate zones and what plantings might enhance habitat and ecological benefit, we can also reduce the area that we need to mow. So always seeking to strike that balance of improving our sites while also reducing any burden of maintenance, or at the very least, not introducing more of a maintenance burden for staff who are already doing a whole lot in their day jobs.
So this guidance will allow us, as we restore sites after a major capital project or a pump out, to think a little bit differently about what types of, plantings make sense there and can enhance that user experience. And that's really all I wanted to cover today. I think we're very thankful for your continued support as we've transitioned under Vision 2030 and as we think about this third century of operation. We're really excited for what's to come, and we'll keep you updated. And with that, any questions?
Manage our expectations there. Rebecca, are we gonna see all this summer? Is this a 10-year plan? Manage our expectations a bit in terms of the evolution transition that you just recapped here. Parts and pieces and signage and all the like.
Yeah, definitely not an overnight transition or a single year. This is really changing the way that we work and the way that we think. So I think about all of these changes as part of a larger cultural shift. We've been very kind of passively welcoming visitors for a really long time, maybe reluctantly sometimes, but knowing that these places are a public asset, open space, the trailway has never been more popular, over 4 million users last year. We know that we need to be more deliberate. So this is changing the way that we work and changing the way that we approach our sites. But what you'll see is signage that's replaced as it's faded, broken, inaccurate, really on an as needed basis until we achieve signage, that's consistent across the whole system. And then just like painting your house, by the time it's done, it's time to start over again. And likewise with amenities, we are looking during the pump out time at when we're restoring sites, or if we do a capital project and we're restoring an area, doing some demonstrations, putting the kit of parts through testing. And then also as we issue grants through our small grants program for communities to make improvements on canal land, we'll be requiring them to use these standardized parts as well. So a whole communication strategy is in place to bring people along on that journey. And we hope that that's easier for communities to work with us on site improvements too.
With the timing of the bicentennial and all that Brian just recapped, devil's advocate, is there a need to accelerate some of this? So as it's exposed in an even larger, bigger, brighter way, we've got a fresh coat of paint, and if you will, and we look as good as we can, as opposed to everybody kind of go, whoa, because we want it to be inviting and want it to be positive. Is there anything we need to do to kind of lean into the moment?
I'm looking at Justin. Yeah, we can certainly look at expanding our demonstration sites.
Why are you looking to Justin?
No, it's absolutely something we're interested in. And we've just completed an amenities gap assessment as well. So we have a really good sense of, where there's a lack of potable water for people who are doing a long distance journey, where we need hubs and nodes along the trail system. So I really like that idea of coming back with a challenge to think about how many, maybe one of each, across our 8 sections, maybe we could focus on doing, a kind of setting the standard site.
Yeah, I'm not trying to cause, but serious, I'm just listening, reacting here. It seems as though we want to be well prepared to showcase this and at least have key areas or key sites dressed up, cleaned up, improved in a way that we're proud of, or this is what's to come. And
we should look for opportunities to showcase this work in connection with this year, and we'll come back to you with a plan around that.
That looks like a shitty grin response, but I get it.
I get it. No, I'm listening.
But okay, I'm not.
I like it. I'll take the challenge. We'll follow up and we'll come back with with a strategy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Rebecca, recognizing the limitations, liability, all of that, but it seems like this plan is a perfect opportunity to challenge communities, to partner with gardeners, to adopt a bench.
Run competitions.
Adopt a bench,
Yeah, there you go.
or name a bench in honor of a loved one or something like that. It seems like this is all realistic and doable, but it also seems like a great opportunity to partner with the communities and the people along.
Or even like an adopt a park type of strategy, maybe with, landscape or design firms or something. I like that a lot. Right.
It is April 1st almost.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know
well,
a
that's the
gardener.
problem. It's, how we get there. So
Right.
okay.
Thank you.
Sounds like enough questions for Rebecca. We've got
Thank
enough.
you.
All right, you
Very
good?
good. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Come on up, Dave.
All right, Dave, Back and clean up? Clean up and clean out? Clean out, pump out, whatever all? Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, trustees, colleagues, members of the public. Great to see everyone here today. Glad to be here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a brief operational update. We're going to look back at the last 5 months or so. We're going to take a quick peek at the season ahead, although Brian covered that pretty well. And lastly, we're going to talk about the second tugboat that we're going to be receiving here in the fall, and we're going to be seeking the board's approval for the naming of that tugboat. So this first slide is the look back. It's been a very successful season in my view in terms of the winter work, but it's also been very challenging. The western region and areas along the 81 corridor up the Oswego really had some weather challenges. In some cases, we lost days of work, even weeks, made for difficulties in terms of safety. But from an overall perspective, very busy, very successful, got more work than we had planned accomplished. And by that, I can just say that there were almost 30 projects active across the state this past 5 months. 10 pump out projects and almost 20 contractor-led projects. Not all the projects are multi-million dollars, but they're 60,000, 200,000, 80,000, something like that. So 30 projects active, and for the most part, they're all going to be complete in time for the navigation season. Some extend into the navigation season, but have no effect on people using the canal. And the pump out projects all did well. Project at E17, that was the one that probably fell short a little, but we had others that actually added a lot of work. So from a total perspective, lots of project activity, all very good. Ice breaking is worth mentioning this year. So this is between E7 and E8. Last winter, we made 4 trips to break ice. This winter, we had to make 20. The ice got to about 14 inches thick, and on March 11th, it let loose. So this is around in the E7 to E8 pool, so Vischer Ferry to Scotia. Let loose on March 11th, and we avoided flooding due to the ice breaking. So there was enough channel, roughly 30% of the overall width was free and clear because of the ice breaking. The media responded very well to that, and it really protected us as an organization. So kudos to the team doing a very good job there, mitigating the flooding. Looking ahead of the navigation season, we are definitely in good shape to open on May 16th on time. I don't see anything on the horizon that would, jeopardize that at this time. We're getting ready to, take care of our seasonal recruitment. We're looking to hire around 165 to 70 seasonal employees in the next month or so. And our permanent headcount remains steady at about 475. And that 10% vacancy that I've mentioned in prior presentations holds steady. We're only 3 weeks away from starting to set buoys out across the system. And at the end of April, we will start watering up the Western Erie, and the movable dams are anticipated to go in the first week in May. Next slide. So the first thing I'll point out on this slide is the picture on the upper right. And I'd like to thank you, Trustee Morris, for your visit to Lock 28A in Lyons. I thought it was a great interaction. I know the troops enjoyed the candid conversation, so thank you. I hope it was informative for you as well.
It was, thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I learned so much, so much.
So this slide was just, besides that highlight, just sharing a few of the challenges that we face. And these challenges aren't really things we haven't seen before, but in particular, the lock C8, that's the photo in the lower right. In this case, we got the lock pumped out, and then we uncovered a whole bunch of deteriorated concrete, unexpectedly so, and more than we typically see at a pump out. It ended up being almost $1.5 million of extra work. We had to get a contractor involved because we didn't have the resources internally to take care of this. It involved removing concrete all the way up as deep as 24 inches and then replacing it in the dead of winter, which requires a whole heating system to cure the concrete properly. So extra work associated with a pump up, but we got through it, and that's expected to be complete by the end of April. Next slide, please.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second? Go
Yeah.
back to that slide. I don't know if everybody can tell where we were, but the lock doors are behind us. We were down all the way to ground level. All of that would be normally be water, but we were down in the bottom of the lock. So just wanted to give them a little perspective.
Yeah, that's probably 35 to 40 feet below
It was a
ground
ways.
level right there.
Yeah, it was a good climb down and up. Mhm. Thank you, sorry.
Okay, so I've talked about this before, but this theme, the concept of, we have the current state at canals and then the whole infrastructure piece with our renewed vision, and that's going to take some time to really make a dent in some of the infrastructure repair needs. And so how do we get from here to there the best way possible? So technology, I've said it before, I'm viewing this as a bridge. And the way it's a bridge is that it really allows us to manage the risk associated with some of these water impounding structures as best we can. If we don't know, I think that is a lot worse than knowing. So in this case, that photo on the right of the screen here, you've seen that photo before, but this is actually a second deployable robotics platform. So we had one, I talked about it before, where you can deploy a drone from it. The drone's equipped with all types of imaging software, and we can detect leaks with the drone. And then it had the doggy door, and whether it's the real dog Sushi or Gizmo, our robotic dog. So now what we're doing, we are building a second one, and we are finding a great use for this technology at our UDS sites, our upland disposal sites. So this is where we have a dredging operation, and we're dredging on the canal, and we might have more than a half mile of pipe to get the dredged material, hydraulic dredging, to the upland disposal site. So it's a big operation in terms of length and width kind of thing. So the concept of injecting aerial support to that operation, we're still, I would say, we're beyond the fact that it might be helpful. It's very helpful. We're just now kind of fine tuning it and tweaking it to make it as helpful as possible and get the troops so they can understand how to use the technology. But the concept of making sure that the discharge is clear, that there are no leaks in the UDS, volumetric analysis, these drones can take care of all that for us. So a lot of opportunity there, and we're developing that. Drone usage on the ice jams, to manage the ice this year in the Vischer Ferry area. We had drones up and down the canal, and that really is helpful in making tough calls in terms of adjusting water flows and understanding where the ice is. And at this point, we're working very closely with NYPA Robotics on a multi-year strategy. In essence, considering kinds of things like, should this technology, for example, be at high hazard locations until we get the site repaired in the future, So we're looking at it as a risk mitigation tool. And lastly, on the slide, I'll just mention that the lower left, that's the water management system that I think I talked about a little in the fall. That is coming along. This is the system that'll be internal and external facing. And it basically compiles all the weather-related and water information associated with the canal. So for example, lake levels, pool levels, inflows, outflows, the status of all gates and water control mechanisms on the system. It'll all be in one spot. It promotes transparency, makes things easier to access, and so on and so forth. So we are to state there that we're going to be reviewing and testing the system in the second quarter of this year. Should have it rolled out and running by the end of the year, maybe with some final tweaks in early 26, but that's coming along well. Next slide, please. Okay, so looking ahead to the navigation season, a lot of these points Brian touched upon. We're going to keep the same hours as last year, the 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I think the point here that I want to make for operations this summer looks a little different. So it's going to be not only keeping the lights on as we always do, but it's going to be supporting to the extent we can many commemorative events. So we're ready to do that. Lots of communication going on between Rebecca's team and the operations team. So we will support this to the extent possible. And the maturing our workforce piece, I'll just mention there that our training effort continues to grow. We now have 2 dedicated training coordinators at Canals, continuing also to get assistance from NYPA, but making lots of progress there. In 2023, we had 22 learning items identified, a basic training package for new Canal employees. Now we have a menu of 168 learning outcomes identified, 50% of which are already done and usable. So lots of progress on the training. And then the last slide that I have has to do with the naming of the second tug. So if you'd like, I can open it up for questions on the operations and then take care of this last slide.
Wrap this up. I think we're pretty good.
Okay, so what this is back in 23, board approved 4 tugboats at a cost of $35 million. And we're going to be getting 2 this year. The tug Thomas S. Grasso, which we already talked about, the name for that, is expected to arrive in June. And the second tug, we're proposing it be named the Tug Rome. That is supposed to arrive in the fall time period, September, October. There's a reason why the committee selected the Tug Rome. It has to do with the rich history of Rome, New York, relative to the Canal Corporation. And the construction of the canal began in 1817 in Rome, New York, and the Rome Utica section was completed by 1819. So it's right at the beginning of it all. It's where they started. It's where the first shovel went in the ground. And so this tug is the sister to the Thomas S. Grasso, same basic footprint. And we're proposing that it be named the Tug Rome. So I'm seeking the board's approval for that.
Okay. Before we take a motion, any questions for Dave? Obviously, great job. Operations, incredibly impressive. Continued growth and evolution bears no resemblance to what we inherited in 2017. So kudos to you and your team for the great work. It's terrific that Cecily was able to witness that firsthand. So speaks volumes. B, I know you were part of the committee. I didn't, it's not Tug Koelmel, so you know, but I'm sure you gave that full consideration. But it's also not Tug Gonzalez, so I guess that's a good thing too.
There is a process, and as what I'm learning is as the tugs get named and people are becoming aware, the interest in the naming process is also increasing. So the job is going to get a little more difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, Rome is the beginning, right, of the connection of the Hudson and the building of the canal, and so more than appropriate. So I move that we accept.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Cecily's gonna second that. Justin, anything you want to add with that grin you're giving me?
I'm just enjoying your management of this board.
You want to give me a round of applause? Any other thoughts or comments on Tug Rome? Otherwise, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Dave.
Hey, you got the room.
You got the Rome.
Got the Rome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Trying to
want a
come up with
ride.
some quick little thing, but I'll let it go, so. All right, Dave, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Brian, Rebecca, Dave, you and your teams, great work, exciting year. And as with other topics today and recently, the organization's come a long way, and you guys are exemplary of that. So we're really proud of the great work you're doing and our ability and opportunity to showcase that to the world, literally this year. So exciting times ahead. We look forward to being a part of it. So sorry we're not included in the lottery, but other than that, it was a pretty upbeat report. I think we'll have our own little meat raffle or something as a board. What do you think about that? Okay. Okay, we're probably going to pass on the meat raffle, it looks like. So we've had several committee meetings since we were all together. In fact, I think all of our committees have met. Risk and resilience last time, finance, audit, governance. We got a full slate here. So I think Cecily, you're going to kick us off here with a risk and resilience committee report.
I am, and in the interest of time, I'm just going to touch on the highlights. I have some notes here from our meeting, which was held on January 28th of this year. Alexis, Harley introduced four agenda items, year-end enterprise risk results, an emerging risk update, a merchant portfolio hedging program update, and a cybersecurity update. And as those all sound, it was a lot of information and it was a lot to absorb, but Alexis did a great job giving us the information. The year-end enterprise risk report included an overview of the NYPA and Canal's risk assessment results. And the key takeaway was that there were no major movements in risk scores since the 2024 mid-year update. The profiles remained stable, which is a good thing. And it was also noted that the updated risk appetite ranges were added in to the risk management and controls graphic, which illustrated the relationship between risk management and controls and risk appetite. The emerging risk update included the emerging risk dashboard, which identified 6 trends emerging in the risk category, along with the business implications, time horizon, change in trends since the last report. The report highlighted 2 new emerging risks of political transition, and then I think Alexis talked about that today, and nuclear resurgence. The merchant portfolio hedging update recapped our programmatic approach, with which layers on hedges throughout the year to reduce downside risk and stability revenue outcome. It was a very good report, and as we head into 2025, we anticipate reaching targeted hedging percentages for 25, 26, and 2027. The cybersecurity update focused on key accomplishments in 2024, such as enhanced IT/OT cyber kill chain capabilities and improved ability to respond. Key areas of focus for 2025 are continuous management of the attack surface and increasing cyber awareness and training that was highlighted. There was no requirement for us to bring anything to a vote, and we established that our next, we passed our meetings from the minutes from the meeting held in September 17th. We're going to meet again on September 16th, 2025, barring anything unforeseen. And thank you, Alexis, as always, for being a wealth of information and help.
Thank you very much, Cecily. Appreciate that report and we had a very good discussion. A week ago, we had a finance committee meeting. I'll refresh everyone's memory on what were 10 items that we approved and recommended for adoption by us as a board today. My quick math adds up to about $1.2 billion, so don't let that bother you, but comes another $1.2 billion of recommendations for your support. 27 million of that is a quarterly allocation to the Canal Corporation to support the good work that's being done, in addition to some extra signs and a fresh coat of paint up and down the canals. Our second 25 million in workforce development funding, obviously a real source of pride for us as an organization. The first 25, you'll hear about the wrap up of the final allocations there, and we're excited for what comes going forward. That said, what we hope is our last 5 million of voluntary contribution to the state. Kudos to Adam and the team for the continued dialogue and rapport with our partners at the state. The final 5 million of voluntary contribution there, and releasing 31.5 million in support for Western New York Power proceeds, which, as I've said, putting my Western New York hat on is a nice bounce back from an off year last year, and the opportunities abound to provide economic development support in the 7 to 8 counties of Western New York. In addition to that, we've got 4 contracts to support the new ERP initiative, 3.2 million to Ivalua, 7 million to Workday, 15 million in change to Deloitte, and a little over 13 million to Gartner. We've got 800 million in additional funding for 19 qualified energy efficiency program services providers over the next 5 plus or minus years. Justin mentioned earlier, we had a significant or follow-on discussion and ultimate recommendation to approve the purchase of just under 16 acres adjacent to the Astoria complex for 207 million. Excuse me. Next up is approval of a 10-year review settlement agreement with local communities and additional funding for 51 million in connection with the relicensing in the St. Lawrence and FDR Power Project. As a reference, the final tranche of funding for our first 25 million of workforce development programs, just under 4 million. Couple $100,000 of the Bronx Economic Development Corporation, $1 million to Laborers International Union, another $1.3 million to New York State Labor Management Committee, Osborne Association for $750,000, and the Wildan Clean Energy Academy of $615,000. So some great programs, and we look forward to good outcomes from all of them in the years ahead. And lastly, 11 personal services contract for the next 5 years, totaling $15 million to support financial advisory services. So the sum of that, literally and figuratively, unless there's questions and further discussion, I'd ask for a motion to adopt these items for full approval. Dennis, thank you very much. I have a second. Laurie, appreciate that. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Following Finance Committee, we had a robust Governance Committee discussion. B, you want to report out on that?
Yes, the governance committee met on March 18th. We adopted minutes and received reports on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, artificial intelligence strategy update, and updates on ethics from Joe. So those were the 3 reports. The items before the board for adoption are the procurement and related reports for New York Power Authority and Canal Corporation, the annual report of procurement contracts and annual review of open procurement service contracts, the annual review and approval of guidelines and procedures for the disposal and acquisition of real property, and annual reports for the disposal and acquisition of real property, annual review and approval of certain policies for New York Power Authority and Canal Corporation, the New York Power Authority and Canal Corporation 2024 annual board evaluation pursuant to sections 2800 and 2824 of the Public Authorities Law and guidance of the authority's budget office, annual review and approval of guidelines for the investment of funds and 2024 annual report on investments of authority funds, and number 7, the 2025 mission statement and strategic plan. Are there any questions?
I think we did really well on that annual board evaluation, didn't we?
We did.
Oh, okay, good.
And we will adjust our meeting agendas as appropriate based on the results of that evaluation. So with, if there are no questions, I now ask for a motion to adopt these aforementioned items.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second,
Thank you.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Hey, who's running this? meeting?
I never know
Hey,
anymore
come on.
when it's
I
time.
mean, it's just your job to report out. I mean, let's not.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Is this like a little coup? I
It's
mean, are you really?
practice. I'm practicing.
All in favor, aye, we get that? Any opposed, other than B, apparently? All right, motion carried. All right, and then the last committee, we had a riveting and highly entertaining audit committee meeting this morning. Dennis, report out,
Okay.
please.
The audit committee met earlier today and adopted the minutes from the December 10th, 2024 audit committee meeting. Committee also received a report from Salman Ali on the 2024 internal audit plan update. In addition, KPMG presented their audit results and strategy for the year ending December 31st, 2024. The following 4 items are now before the NYPA trustees and the New York State Canal Board, Corporation's Board of Directors for adoption. The items before the trustees for adoptions are: 1, approval and adoption of the New York Power Authority and Canal Corporation 2025 internal audit plan and strategy. 2, 2024 financial reports pursuant to section 2800 of the Public Authorities Law and Regulations of the Office of the State Controller. 3, approval and adoption of the New York Power Authority and Canal Corporation's Audit Committee Charter. And 4, approval and adoption of the New York Power Authority Internal Audit Charter Corporate Policy 5-1. I now ask for a motion to adopt the aforementioned items.
B,
So
would you
moved.
love B? Thank you for that. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Cecily, thank you.
Oh my God.
Unless there's any other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda, we hopefully had an opportunity to review the materials that were included for our benefit. Unless there's any questions, Maribel, anything you're gonna highlight?
If you want to just go through it, it's okay, but if not, I just want to just kind of highlight three very.
Okay, thank you very much.
Where's my applause?
No, we want to hear. We want to hear.
Go ahead.
No,
Three was two more than I was thinking. Let's hit the top one.
top one is that this portfolio has about 50 megawatts of not only new, but extension awards. So I always say, and one day I'll have us all repeat it in unison, is there's no bigger compliment than a repeat customer. 17 extension customers with $500 million worth of new capital investment in the state. So it's a measure of resiliency, not just of new customers coming into the state, but those that are remaining strong in the state and continuing to see a positive future here. So just want to thank you all for your support.
Terrific, great work. You and your team as well, obviously.
Okay.
With that, if I could have a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Laurie's up. Second, Michael. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Unless there's any other matters to come before us. Danielle, anything else you thought of, you forgot? All right. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is Tuesday, May 20th. Spring will be in full bloom. Will be warmer temperatures. The canals will be open. The boats will be floating. The initial flotilla will be making its way down the waterways. And we can celebrate.
I guess we can't.
With that, I'm pleased to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.
Oh, second.
Okay, second, Cecily, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, one and all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Go Yankees, go
Thank you.
Mets. And hope your pools come through in March Madness. All right, have a great day, everyone.